Well, good morning once again. Here we are at Onyx Peak, W6CT044. That wasn't the original plan. Today we were going to come up Onyx Summit, hike south on the PCT to the Sand to Snow Park, do a Parks on the Air activation, and a bunch of things happened. First off, I lost my hiking partner. My wife hurt her shoulder, so she's not with me today. The park route put you on the wrong side of the mountains, so I didn't think I was going to have cell phone, repeater, 2 meter. I didn't think the APRS was going to work, so I didn't want to chance it. So I elected to go up Onyx Peak, which is a much safer route. It's basically a service road. So we're going to go up and do a soda activation instead. Let's look at the trail. This is a really nice trail. If you're in Southern California or from Southern California, you're looking for a real pretty little hike that's not terribly hard, this is the one to come to. Onyx Peak is, it's about 3 miles up to the top of the peak, and it's about, it's less than 1,000 feet of elevation gain. It's up in the pines, up on top. You get some really beautiful views down into the Yucca Valley part of the desert and kind of the Palm Springs area. So it's beautiful up there. There is a communication site up there, and I have hiked this once before. Sherry and I did this last year. There was a little bit of interference, but not a lot. It was doable, so it wasn't a big problem. So this is a really nice peak to come to. The other problem is I'm 100% QRP, and the band conditions all week have just sucked. Okay, let's look at what we're dealing with today. So as you can see, the only good thing going for us is the fact that we have a K of 0. That 68's been persistent. All week I've been listening to the guys trying to activate and struggle. And these are guys with 100-watt rigs, man. So I'm a little bit intimidated. So the plan is we're going to go start off with HF. And if we can't get the contacts, which we need very few for soda, we'll put up the Slim Jim 2 meter antenna and try to get some that way. I'm Mark, KG6LI, so let's head up the trail and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do today. So once again, you got the trail angels looking out for the PCT through hikers, taking care of them. So this is the PCT. There's a couple ways you can get to the top of Onyx. Some people, if the gate's open, drive right up the fire service road. I prefer to come up to the PCT here, hike in on it. Now, it's only for a bit, like a third of it, because this is eventually going to drop down onto that service road, and then it's going to be service road the rest of the way. But when I get into a little wilderness, I take it. So the strategy today is I'm already dealing with a solar flux of 68, and I don't want to further complicate that by using a compromised antenna. So I'm going to put the band hopper up, use a resonant antenna, and I did it before up here, and it works out really good. We're going to do that. Then if I can't get the contacts, I've got the Slim Jim, and we're going to try for some 2 meter contacts. The nice thing about Onyx is it has a pretty good VHF footprint, so if you can't get your contacts on HF, there's a really good chance you'll get them on VHF. That's the plan, which is more complex than that, but I'm a simple guy. If you're going to come out and do Onyx Peak, I didn't want to mislead you in the beginning. It's a mild hike, but it's kind of on the arid side of the mountain range. It's kind of on the southeast aspect of the transverse range, so it gets hot here. So for example, today we're only supposed to get up to 74 degrees, and I've got 3 liters of water. I'll never use it, but check the weather, make sure you got enough water, because there's no water up here. It's a dry trail. So that being said, just plan your hike accordingly. For emergency communications, the places stick with repeaters. The most prominent one is Keller Peak, which is a wide coverage repeater, and I also think that's where my APRS is pinging to. So as far as communications, and right now I've got plenty of cell service, so that's why I chose this way than the other way, because if I need to call for help, I can. So from here we can actually look down into the well, this is going to be Big Bear, the town of. So that kind of helps you get a little orientation. That's probably where our cell phone service is coming from, so that's nice to know. And since I know that Onyx is on this aspect of the range, I fully anticipate that I'll be able to self-spot that I'll have cell service up there. So far, so good. So we're coming up to the end of the PCT. Well, not the end, it keeps going, trust me. For us, we're going to be going up the fire service road now. So it's still a nice hike, it's still pretty. I just really like the trail, but it is what it is. So here we go. So now that we're off the trail and we're on the road, and I'm not going to trip and fall face first into a rock, let's talk radios and antennas and what I've learned. So I've been doing both SOTA and POTA for a while, and I'm going to give you my take on it, while other hams may have other takes on it. Oftentimes we get too caught up in what the Joneses have, and we want to have the latest, greatest. We somehow transcribe that into success. And let me just give you my take. I don't need the newest rig. I'm using the FT817ND, and that's not anywhere close to new technology. It's old technology, but it works. And I had enough money left over to put the money into your antenna. That's what you should do. Buy yourself the best antenna that you can get, because look at, I could take a $2,000 brand new top of the line software defined transmitter and hook it up to a compromised antenna. It's not going to work good. Or I can take an older rig, hook it up to a really good antenna, and have a really good signal. So that's kind of the path I went. So pack in what you're happy with. But remember, if you're going to pack in like me, weight is a factor. So I've got another QRP rig, a 10-Tech Argonaut. I love that rig. That's my sweetheart rig, but it's heavy. So when I'm coming in on these trails, I tend not to use it. Now the advantage of it is this. By definition, QRP is 10 watts sideband, 5 watts CW, and that 10-Tech will do that. The 817 is 5 and 5. So yeah, I struggle on sideband. Even with a voice processor, it's still a shot in the dark. So 90% of my work is CW. I always activate on sideband because I never want to leave out a hunter that doesn't do CW. I think everybody should get a shot. So I always do a sideband activation. Now, whether or not they hear me, that's the trick. So that's Onyx Peak, way in the distance there. It's not too far, and as you can tell by this road, this is a really mild hike. So there's some uphill here and there, but nothing bad. So if you're kind of like a moderately in shape person, I'd give it a shot. Now let's talk about safety up here. Anytime I'm out by myself and I'm away from the car, I always carry the heavy pack, and the reason for that is I've got my 15 essentials, and you can look that up on the internet, what day hikers should have with them, and I've got those in my pack. In addition, I've got a really complete first aid kit, including a bunch of splinting stuff and CPR stuff. Not for me to do CPR myself, but others. And I got a shelter in there, cold weather stuff. So whenever you decide you're going to get active in soda and you analyze it, you're probably going to head out and be away from it all. Pick a pack big enough to first pack your survival gear. Secondary to that is your radio gear. The one I've got on my back is a 50-liter Osprey, and by the time I put in my survival gear, all my equipment, the hydrocell, and all my radio gear, it's a full pack. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people buy packs that are way too small, and they find themselves not being able to carry gear, or they end up strapping it to the outside. That's a pain, because when you get in the thick brush, it gets torn off or shredded. So start off with the right size pack from the very beginning, and it'll be groovy. You'll really dig it. That's Onyx Peak, and we're getting there. We're in for a treat, I think. Looks like the desert's really clear, so we should have a heck of a view today. This peak looks down into the whole low desert area, Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, and then kind of the eastern Coachella Valley. So with luck, it's gonna be pretty up there. We'll see. Next peak, we're on top, and recommendation I'd make is before you activate, take in what you work so hard to get to. It's a good time to strip off the pack. Just look at the views. Man, it's a killer day. You can see clear out to, that's probably Joshua Tree way out there. But it's a good idea. Just get the pack off, relax, catch your breath. You don't want to be one of these guys coming up on the air, going, this is KG6L. LI. You want to be the guy that's like the cool midnight FM jazz radio station guy. This is KG6LI. So we're going to just boot around here a bit, look, get on the air. Here we go. All right, so I found this really nice clear spot here, and it seems like it's going to be more than enough room to put up the band hopper. The band hopper is like my favorite antenna. I always get good reports on it, but it's got a big footprint because it goes up on the 7000 HDS, and then from the top it has 3 legs. 2 are antenna legs, and the third is a guying leg. So it's basically like a tripod, a 3-legged guying system, 2 of which are an antenna. It's got a big footprint. So if you're on a crowded peak with a lot of people, it's a trip hazard. If you're on a peak that's narrow, it's not going to work. And if you're on a peak that there's a lot of rocks and you can't drive anchor points, it's not going to work. But when I'm lucky enough to get on a peak like this, it's the first one out of the bag because it really performs. Not to say my other antennas aren't good and don't perform. This is the one I have the most confidence in. It's kind of like the one I trust. So let's get that thing up and see what the bands are doing. So let's take a look at what we ended up with out here. Got the 7000 HDS up with the band hopper up on top, soda beams. It's configured for 20 meters, so we're going to start out in 20 meters, bump to 30, and try some 40, and go from there. We got a nice little spot in the shade, which is okay by me because we talked in our last video, the FT817 or any radio doesn't like to sit out in the sun because as the case gets hotter, I found that my output power tends to drop on this, so being in the shade's just fine with me. So we're going to find a frequency spot, and get this thing going. So we just wrapped up our HF, and actually we did pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of contacts, but I feel really bad. We are wedged right between two comm sites, and the last time I was up here, they weren't a problem, but they've either fired something up or something wasn't on when I was up here last time. I had a solid S9 noise level on 20 and 30 meters and a solid S7 on 40 meters. So I missed a lot of people, and if you're one of those people, I'm sorry. I just couldn't hear you. It was bad. So that being said, we got the mask down, and we're going to put on the Slim Jim and try some 2-meter simplex. Now, I always bring up a section of 8X coax for the VHF because I have a spool of 174, and that's okay for HF and it's light, but if you look at the losses of RG174 with VHF, it gets pretty lossy. So I always carry about a 20-30 foot section of 8X to do these activations so that I'm not evaporating my power before it hits the antenna. So we're going to get the Slim Jim up, do some 2-meter, and see how that goes. So we broke down the HF gear and put it away. Right now what we've got up is a guying bolt. We're using the 7000 HDS soda beams, and we're using a guy set with it. And on top of it, we've got a 2-meter 440 Slim Jim. Coming down with the 8X, RG8X. We're going to try some 2-meter up here because this place has got some pretty good footprint into the desert here. Palm Springs area, but it'll also, we can get down to the LA area. So we'll see how we do on it. We got all the contacts we need. We got a ton on HF, even though we got an S9 noise level. So let's see how we do on 2 meters. Haven't done it in a while. And we'll reconfigure the 817 for VHF and get going.
The station on Onyx Peak, this is KS6F.
2G6LI, this is Kilo 6, Lima Delta, Quebec.
Whiskey Bravo 6, Romeo Lima Charlie, WB6 RLC.
AC7AP, mobile at rest.
That's a wrap. We did better than I thought. So, you know, we got some 2 meter contacts. We got some out in the South Bay, which is quite a reach from here. Well, not, it's 70 miles maybe. Most of them I got right down here in the Coachella Valley, and it was good to hear those guys on. You know, anytime you're QRP, my backup plan is always to have a VHF activation aspect to it, because the HF bands I had today, like I said, S9 on 20, S9 on 30, and S7 on 40 meters. This is a heck of a view. It's looking right out into the California desert. It's probably over 100 degrees down there. We've got a heat wave rolling in today, but today's high up here is 75 degrees, so we're gonna leave. And hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope we covered some things that you guys can use out there. But we're gonna get off this peak. Again, this was the second time we've been up here. They've added something. Last time Sherry and I were up here, there was not that kind of noise level, but there's a lot more antennas, and I'm sure that they've added something. It's just killing me on the HF bands. So if I ever activate this peak again, I'm gonna go use the old activation zone and probably go like down peak a bit. You take care. I'm sure glad you guys tuned into my channel, and I sure appreciate you guys are out there. Take care. Enjoyed having you. We'll see you soon.